Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. And today's such a special day. Rosh Chodesh Nisan. First day of Nisan, going to the second day of Nisan this evening. Going from the one great month of Adar to another great month of Nisan. And we hope to see Hashem bring us back to Eretz Yisrael, like Chazal tell us, that we were redeemed from Egypt in the month of Nisan. Hashem will redeem us from this Golus in Nisan also. Let's hope it will be this Nisan. What I want to discuss tonight is two things that happened that are very unusual in the world to happen. Everybody's aware of it, everybody's talking about it. Earthquake, probably most of us never experienced it before, an earthquake. Baruch Hashem, it wasn't a severe one. And the eclipse of the sun, which most people probably didn't experience in their lifetime. I guess some of us did, some of the older people a little bit. But very interesting, happening so close to each other, right in the beginning of the month of Nisan. So Hashem doesn't do things without a reason. There must be something behind it. Two unusual things happening in the creation of the world in the month of Nisan, right away in the beginning. Hashem must be sending us a message. And we have to pick up on that message. And that's what I want to discuss tonight. That we should take it to heart, think about it, and put it in our minds, in our hearts, to understand what Hashem is asking from us and try to comply and do and fulfill his wishes for us to think about and to act on. So, I will say that the two things which are unusual correspond to two main ingredients which Hashem commanded us to do to take us out of Egypt. And those called Dam Pesach V'Dam Milah, the blood of the Korban Pesach, that they sacrificed the Korban Pesach in Egypt. Of course, the Rabbi Yonason says they all went there to Israel. Hashem took them for a few hours there to make the Korban over there. But simple understanding is that they made the Korban Pesach, the Paschal Lamb we call it, in Egypt, and they took the blood and put it on the doorposts of the house. And the blood of Milah, that they all had to circumcise themselves to make sure they're circumcised before they left the land of Egypt. The Dam Pesach and Dam Milah. And my words are that these two mitzvahs correspond to the two unusual things that happened. The earthquake that we felt the rumbling, most people felt it, and the eclipse of the moon covering the sun. Depends where you're standing, how much of the sun, but to a certain extent it was covering the sun. And these are the two things, Dam Pesach and Dam Milah. And we're going to explain what these mitzvahs are, and then we can see what Hashem is trying to tell us by making these two things happen. The Korban Pesach, the Dam Pesach, according to the great Maharal of Prague, tells us that the Korban Pesach was for the Jewish people to be strong, to be aware of the great importance of us to have good relationships with our family, our friends, everybody in the Jewish nation. Have good relationship with not the Jewish nation also. We should have relationships with, there should be shalom, there should be peace in the world. and everybody should get along with themselves personally, and countries should get along with each other also. And the Korban Pesach stood for that, because the Korban Pesach, number one, it had to be brought with a chabura, with a group of people together who made up from before that they will be the ones who will be in this particular Korban Pesach, this lamb that was slaughtered for the sacrifice to Hashem. They had to make up from before who. There was a mitzvah to eat part of it. Everybody had to eat part of the Korban Pesach. And they have to make up from before who are those people that will be in this particular Korban Pesach. They had to make a group together. And once it was shechted, the Shechet Korban Pesach, those people who made up from before, they get together and they eat from the Korban Pesach, the night of Pesach. We have the Mitzrayim and all the future generations, they have to make the Korban Pesach. And while they're sitting and eating that Korban Pesach, they're not allowed to leave the group until they perform the mitzvah of eating the Korban Pesach. The group together has to stick together and not break up the group by leaving in the middle before they ate the Korban Pesach. So we see that this is a group kind of mitzvah. Hashem wants us to be together. Besides that, the Maharal says the fact that it had to be tzli, had to be broiled and not cooked, because broiling makes togetherness. Cooking makes separation. We know if you broil something, it gets harder and gets together. Cooking, the more you cook, the more it makes the meat soft and it separates. The more you broil it, it makes it harder and it gets together. Because it takes about the fluid of the juice in the meat and shrivels up into one. So it was smaller. When you broil something, you take out from the broiler less than you put in, because the juice of the meat is evaporated and becomes strong into one piece. If you cook something, it gets bigger because the liquid gets into the meat and it makes it expand. And the meat gets softer and softer and starts falling apart after a while. So since the theme of the Korban Pesach is togetherness, Hashem told the Jewish people, you have to eat it tzli. It has to be broiled and not cooked, because that is the theme of the Korban Pesach. For Jewish people to leave Egypt, to have the schus and the merit and the backing of goodness that they should have to be able to leave, is to have togetherness. There shouldn't be machlokes, shouldn't be arguing and fighting, and people angry with each other and jealousy and so on. We want Jewish people to have togetherness in order to have the schus to leave Egypt. And this is one of the most important mitzvahs and laws and themes we have in the Jewish nation: togetherness, not machlokes and people arguing and fighting and jealousy and everything comes along with it. And we find in the Torah what is a punishment for people who make fights and don't get along with each other. Korach, he's the one who made the whole machlokes rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. And what was the seif that he went through? Earthquake. Earthquake Hashem made, and it swallowed up a lot of the people who were against Moshe Rabbeinu and were making the whole Tairam against him and the whole fighting and people getting involved and making all kinds of hard feelings. Earthquake is what their punishment. Why an earthquake, of all things? Because earthquake is exactly what a machlokes is. Machlokes means when people argue with each other, it's called machlokes, means separation. They're arguing with each other and fighting with each other, separated. They're not together. It's lacking the togetherness. That's what an earthquake is, that the earth splits in a certain place, and it makes a vacuum in between, and it's machlokes. It's called a thing which is separating. The earth itself separates from itself, and it makes a crevice in between, a valley between the two parts that separate it. And that is what the punishment was, that you're making machlokes, separating the Jewish people one from another, rebelling against Moshe Rabbeinu. So then your punishment is to be swallowed up by the earth that separates machlokes, chalukah, one from part of the earth separates from the other part of the earth. And once you have a separation, there's nothing to stand on. You just fall in. There's nothing backing you if you're in the vacuum. You're standing in a place and the floor under you separates. You just fall down. There's nothing to keep you going. The same way Hashem says, "You make machlokes, my people, the Jewish people, make machlokes. I'm going to separate myself from you. You're separated from each other. You're not getting along. You're not keeping together. Then I'm also going to separate from you. And therefore, we have no place to stand on. Hashem is not with us." That's what we say. Even Rashi brings on the Parshas Korach, even babies were swallowed up by the machlokes, because even though babies don't have any free choice to make machlokes, but since Hashem separates himself from the Jewish people, there's nothing helping them, there's nothing protecting us. Hashem not protecting us. He says, you're separating from each other with machlokes, then I separate from you. Then you don't have my backing. And who knows what's going to happen if Hashem is not with us and watching over us? All terrible things, Chas Shalom, could happen. So, therefore, we say that the midah keneged midah, Hashem punishes measure for measure. The type of avera, the type of sin that a person does, the type of punishment he gets. Therefore, since the Jewish people sinned by making machlokes, making disputes and arguments, and not getting along, Hashem said, well, so we'll get machlokes, the earth itself will separate and won't be together. We won't have what to stand on. So now we can understand why Hashem gave the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, because that is the mitzvah which stands for unity, togetherness, and not machlokes, not arguing and fighting and people hating each other because they can't get along. So therefore, I think it's pretty obvious. Hashem is telling us, now in the month of Nisan, the month where we bring the Korban Pesach, and on Pesach, the month that we're supposed to work on ourselves, to be together, to have achdus, to have unity. Only through that we can expect Hashem to bring Mashiach and we should go back to Eretz Yisrael. If there's machlokes, we can't expect that to happen. There must be unity. Hashem is telling us, you have to work on that. You have to try to make sure that you have the right respect for the other person, for all people, for all Jewish people, the right feelings, the right respect, right actions, and the right kind of getting along with people. You say good morning, mean it, don't just say good morning. Say have a good morning, say good Shabbos. Mean it, a good Shabbos, have a good Shabbos. What's a good Shabbos? A good Shabbos means, besides a good chont, it means good Shabbos, that will have a good relationship with Hashem, that will take Shabbos and make good use out of it. It's a good Shabbos. By the time we finish Shabbos, we'll be in a higher place than we were before Shabbos. We're greeting somebody, giving a bracha, good Shabbos, to feel, when somebody would say good Shabbos, you shake his hand, good Shabbos, you feel a haftarach kamoicha, to feel the goodness, that person, that fellow Jew, you want to feel a closeness with him, you shake his hand, say good Shabbos, and you look at him as a tzelem elokim. Look at him, how great every Jewish person is. They have a tzelem elokim. Hashem gives us some of the greatness that he has. He puts in us tzelem elokim, the greatness Hashem puts in every Jewish person. So we say good Shabbos, we shake a hand, we should feel this closeness. And this was important for us to bring Mashiach to come, for the Hashem to come close to us, for the Gula to come. And this is what he's telling us. He made this special earthquake to remind us. Earthquake comes because of separation, of not good feelings with one another. And therefore Hashem is telling us now, Pesach, now right in the beginning, right when we're getting ready we're hopeful we'll be back in Eretz Yisrael, but right before we'll celebrate this great holiday that we have Yom Tov, work on Avas Yisrael, work on Haftar Kamoicha, work on unity and togetherness. Maybe somebody we didn't don't get along with so good. Let's try work on it before Pesach to get along with them. So tell them the right thing, give them a call, and say the right words to make peace between people, between yourself and other people. And that's, I think, what Hashem was showing us with the earthquake, telling us, wake up, everybody. It's almost Pesach. The Oorah came, Hashem redeemed us out of Pesach. The Jewish people had unity. That's what we need to bring us out of this skull of souls, to have unity. Avos Yisrael. And any way that we're able to make that happen. Especially if we have some people who don't get along with us so good, whether it's relatives, whether friends, whether who knows what. But let's take this opportunity to see maybe we could break the ice and bring back good relationship. That's as far as the earthquake was concerned. And that is Dam Pesach. That was the blood of the Korban Pesach that they brought. Pesach is a sign of unity and togetherness. Then we have the eclipse. That corresponds to Dam Milah, that they circumcise themselves. The men, the boys circumcise themselves before leaving Egypt. And circumcision means that there's an Oorah. We take off the Oorah, the foreskin, from the part of the person's body, and call the Atorah, and covers the Torah, calls the crown, referring to the crown of Hashem in the world, that we crown Hashem by removing the evil from ourselves. We make ourselves, perfect ourselves in all different type of character traits and midas that we have to, the Oorah, the covering of that skin, is corresponds to Orlas Halev. We call it the stuffing, blocking of our heart. Our heart is talking about the midas that we have, our feelings and the way we conduct ourselves, and the way we we're supposed to make sure that we don't allow our body to govern our lives. Our body, which is animalistic and has all the animalistic feelings and cravings, we want our intellect to govern our lives, not our animalistic feelings and midas, character traits that we have, not laziness and gaudiness and desirousness that people have, all the things that our bodies are craving for. This is called the Oorah, called the blockage of the skin that's removed at the circumcision, corresponding to blockage of our heart that doesn't allow us to connect to Hashem, to God, like we'd like to connect to Him. That's time Hashem is telling us that the moon goes in front of the sun, blocks out the light of the sun, and that is what it's all about. That the sun, which is bright, and we enjoy the sun when it had sunny days, something we had not a cloud in the sky, so it's a beautiful bright day, and when the clouds come and they block the sun, we lose that feeling, and that's Hashem showing us that Jews left Egypt when they took away these bad midas, these bad character traits, blocking our hearts from getting close to Hashem, and let Hashem shine in His crowning of Hashem, that He's our leader and our inspiration to perfect ourselves and to get rid of these bad character traits that are trying to turn us away from doing the right thing. We want to control them and use them for the right purpose to serve Hashem. And that's the theme of the blockage. And what's blocking the sun, the Levana, the moon? Remember the moon? The moon was the one who was talked against the sun in the beginning of creation. It said to Hashem, we can't both be kings. I'm at the same size. They were created the same size, the moon and the sun, the same amount of shining. But the moon came and said, no, we can't do that. Two people together, two kings together can't get along. And we're trying to not tell Hashem, so make the sun smaller, I'll be the one in charge. Hashem said, no, you'll be the smaller. And if you can't get along, then you have to cut down yourself, and the sun will be the main one, and you'll be the secondary luminary in the world at nighttime. That was the Levana who came with the bad kind of talk against the sun, and that's the one blocking the sun when we have an eclipse. That's what the moon is, that bad moon that at the very beginning of creation caused the problem. Now it's trying to block the sun. God is telling us in His ultimate wisdom that remember, it's Nisan now, the month of Nisan. It's a month that Hashem said will take us out of Egypt. Well, how are we supposed to take us out of this golus we're in now? He took us out of Egypt then. He'll take us out of our golus now, wherever the Jews are all over the world. But we have to have the right kind of schus, the right kind of goodness that make us worthy of Hashem taking us out. So we have to think to ourselves that how can we do that? Hashem's telling us, making things happen that are not natural, that we almost never experience. It's something that we all talk wondrously, everybody's talking about it, because Hashem wants us to wake us up. You're talking about an eclipse, you're talking about an earthquake. Learn something from it, get my message. How do we go out of Egypt? Down Pesach Adam Milo, by waking up and changing our ways, changing our way of thinking, changing our way that we get along with other people. That's like the Jewish people in the Korban Pesach represents. So to work on your midas, try to change yourself. We have faults, things that your midas control you. Hashem says you control your midas. If you're a person that has a temper, so think to yourself, what can I do to control my temper? What can I do to make myself more calm and not get angry at people and get people upset by a person's temper that he has? So that's one of the people we have to think what our faults are. Don't forget, matzah itself represents all the good midas that we're talking about, that we should think about. Matzah is not gaudy, it's not it doesn't rise, it's very flat, like a person who's very an unav, he's very humble, he keeps himself low-keyed. He's not with people who have a lot of gaudiness, and they put their head high up, to make themselves, as if they're the God's gift to humanity. They feel that people should know them and make themselves known. And that's chametz is. The dough rises, it makes it fluffy and it expands. Those people who have the feeling of being above other people, show them their greatness. We want to just knock that down. People should be humble. People should be quick, not lazy. That's matzah has to be baked very quickly, otherwise it becomes chametz, forbidden to eat. If you let it stand around, it has to be baked very quickly, and it's very water and flour. It's not full of sugar and other ingredients to make it tasty. It's plain and simple to take away our desirous feelings that we have, representing all the great character traits Hashem wants us to induct ourselves and make ourselves and perfect ourselves. So we see how strong the idea of a person perfecting himself is on Pesach, besides the Korban Pesach that we're talking about, and the person to be work on his midas. The matzah represents all these good midas that we're talking about. So we call Pesach as a holiday that Hashem wants us to be on top of our different problems that we have as a physical person, as an animalistic person, to control our animalistic feelings and desires, try to control them and change them and become more of a perfect person. And I think I'm very convinced that this is what Hashem was telling us with these two special, unusual things he exposes to, the earthquake and the eclipse. It's telling us we don't have a Navi to come, we don't have a prophet to come tell us. If we had time of the prophets, they would come and tell us personally from God's messenger to tell us that this has been the message that I want you to change yourself and be what you should be between man and man. The mitzvah of Pesach is between man and man. People are closer. The mitzvah of Dam Pesach to God, man and God. The Navi would tell us Hashem wants to perfect ourselves in both areas. But he doesn't have a Navi today, but he did it through the natural sources that Hashem has to send messages. If it's not through a prophet, it's through the earth itself, through the sun and the moon and the earth itself, that from the heavens, from the earth, Hashem sending his messages. So this is what we should think about and try to think, what can I do? Coming Pesach, 2 weeks from Pesach, I'll sit down at the Seder. Can I be able to tell myself, I worked on something special. I'm different than I was before. I got the message, trying to tell me between man and man, I should perfect myself, make up friendship with somebody, make a relationship with somebody that's missing. Let me work on my anger or my laziness or desirousness feelings and all these type of things. And I'll sit down to Seder. I'll be able to say to Hashem, yes, thank you for the message. I got it. I worked on it, and I'm a little different than I was at the last Seder. And that'll be the biggest thing we can accomplish by getting higher in our service to Hashem and being a little more spiritual and not the same physical person I was last year, and with certain things that I had to perfect. I did it this year. I'm a higher level than I was then. That'll be the greatest gift we give Hashem, that we're showing that we're working on ourselves to be greater people in God's nation. So let's think about, whenever we talk about the earthquake, we'll talk about the eclipse, let's think about greatness.